Hey, welcome back. I'm Nick. I still have a degree in film. I hope you're doing well. Let's get started. Trigger warning, number 90 deals with a wiener. Number 90, wiener.
Had there been multiple online exchanges with multiple people, or was it just this one?
This was the last guy's template and put in his information.
Can I just say multiple people, or is it just this one?
I think you've got to, there was more than one, so...
This is one of those perfect docs where the crew was just there to film a much more boring story about an election campaign, and they were handed a gift. And no one bothers to stop them from continuing to make this movie about what becomes a never-ending personal and political self-destruction. It is hard to oversell the level of access these people are given, not just politically, but inside of a marriage that cannot exist. The intimacy is far beyond what you would expect, even of a political documentary that isn't about accidentally tweeting your junk. Number 89, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Hey! You're that Spider guy on YouTube, right?
Call me Spider-Man!
Okay, Spider-Man! Don't flip! Yeah!
Not bad!
Spider-Man's been done to death this century, but somehow they found a fresh angle here, and it comes from embracing his weaknesses. As a superhero, he's not supposed to be a fighter. He's usually physically outgunned, and he has to be smarter and more inventive to defeat the bad guy. And as a kid, he's just this really nice person who is overlooked and can't really be intimidating. So they cast this friendly, small, albeit ripped, guy who feels like he's at a disadvantage in every situation, and that's fun. And they brought back the comedy of Spider-Man, not just campy one-liners, but legit jokes flowing from his awkwardness and from being an underdog. And they skipped Uncle Ben getting shot, which is always nice. Number 88, John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch.
Some people find mealtime quite difficult, Mulaney.
What got into you? Oh, do you have one of those allergies? Because this is chock full of peanuts.
I'm sorry, I flew off the handle there.
It's all right.
It's just, I only like one food, and I think it's gonna make my life so hard.
Adults need Sesame Street too, and that's really all this is, with a heavy emphasis on musical numbers. I have never laughed harder on an airplane. Mulaney really forced my hand there with a ton of support from Jake Gyllenhaal. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just type those names into YouTube and start a-laughin'. Number 87, Vice.
Maybe I can handle some of the more mundane jobs. Overseeing bureaucracy, managing military, energy, foreign policy. That sounds good.
What makes a Dick Cheney biopic watchable? Nay, what makes a Dick Cheney biopic lovable? Adam McKay finds the answer somehow by weaving together a movie from what feels like years of footage and thousands of scenes and framing every other moment unexpectedly. There's faux Shakespeare, there's faux credits, a broken timeline. There's just an undeniable oomph, zest, kablamo to the storytelling that overwhelms the obvious shortcomings of the script. I can't say this movie does a good job explaining the why of Dick Cheney, you know, what makes Dick tick, or even the why of the Bush administration. But it paints a dizzying portrait in such a subversive manner, I couldn't look away. I couldn't look away from Dick Cheney. Let that sink in. And along with the rest of the cast, Christian Bale is just having so much fun playing this guy. I really should go to the hospital, is the catchphrase of the decade. Number 86, Tim and Eric's billion-dollar movie.
I'm signing my Tim and Eric billion-dollar movie pledge.
Then could you do it?
Shh!
What are you doing?
Jack.
If you've ever wondered what $1 billion looks like, here's your answer. A suit made of diamonds, back-to-back showings of Top Gun, a sword store, market research, strategic PR. It's all here, and nothing I say to try to explain it will work. Tim and Eric were so ahead of the comedy curve back in 2010. You know, typically comedy gets less funny over time, but in this case, I really believe I'm just catching up to where they were. This movie is just about to hit peak comedy. Number 85, Contagion.
How fast it multiplies depends on a variety of factors. The incubation period, how long a person is contagious. Sometimes people can be contagious without even having symptoms. We need to know that too. And we need to know how big the population of people susceptible to the virus might be.
So far, that appears to be everyone with hands, a mouth, and a nose.
This movie aged very well. I keep saying Soderberg this, Soderberg that, that's Soderberg, and Contagion is a great example of what exactly I mean by that in how he approaches drama. He dodges any obvious flourishes in favor of feeding us the information. 90% of directors would exploit the terror of a global pandemic by just shoving us into that vibe. But Sodzie doesn't need to do, an extreme close-up of Kate Winslet being like, the virus is here, and then cue a scary orchestral score. He knows we're not idiots. He knows we can pick up on all of that without his help, and he wants to show a different, more realistic angle. And it's not that he isn't dramatic, but he's not at all interested in embellishment the way we think about it in conventional large-scale disaster movies. In short, this movie and its all-star ensemble is sick. Number 84, Fahrenheit 11/9.
He's terrific, I tell you. I loved what he did. If I was Roger, I wouldn't have liked it, but I enjoyed it. I hope he never does one on me, though.
This Michael Moore doc was such a great way to process the first 2 years of the Trump presidency, and it puts the whole thing into perspective, partly as an over-elaborate scheme to get back at Gwen Stefani, but also as a very large cog in a gigantic dogshit machine. No one is safe from Moore's gaze. We get Obama pretending to drink poisoned water here. It's all extremely upsetting. There's a ray of hope in there, but not enough to make anyone feel complacent. This is the culmination of everything Moore has been doing since Roger and Me. Number 83, They Came Together.
Hi, Mr. Joel. Are you my new daddy?
Hey, buddy, I see you got on some Pokemon pajamas.
Yeah.
My favorite one is Smeargle. You know why? Because he can defend Butterfree's hyper reverse attack with 2 double colorless energy cards and only get 10 damage points.
You know about Pokemon? You're cool, Mr. Joel.
David Wayne obliterates every rom-com trope imaginable in a movie without consequences. There's nothing at stake here. Every scene is just another platform to explain how stupid rom-coms are capable of being. Loosely tied together by 2 characters with 0 continuity or depth, this movie sacrifices everything in favor of jokes. I wish David Wayne did this kind of movie for every single genre, but if I can only have one, rom-com is probably the best. Number 82, Fyre.
He said, Andy, if you will go down and suck Cunningham's dick, who's the head of customs, and get him to clear all of the containers with water, you will save this festival. And I literally drove home, took a shower, I drank some mouthwash. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I got into my car to drive across the island to take one for the team.
This doc about the rise and collapse of the Fyre Festival is possibly the most stressful movie of the decade, and it shines a light on this modern kind of fraud perpetuated by social media and armies of completely hollow influencers who will put their names behind absolutely anything, as well as the ironic counterpoint, the social media justice of a person with very little influence tweeting a photo of an awful sandwich to take down this titanically terrible festival. I wish we had heard from Billy, the psychopath at the center of this whole con, but everyone else paints such a clear picture of what went down that his testimony, which probably would have been hilarious, is not essential. Number 81, The Avengers.
We have no quarrel with your people.
An ant has no quarrel with a boot.
You planning to step on us?
To do what this movie does is not easy. And to do it this well is nearly impossible. Strategically teasing this team of superheroes via many other movies for years, building that framework is one thing. But putting all these seemingly disparate characters in the same room and feeling like they all have a voice and they make sense together is something else. I mean, we have gods and monsters and cyborgs and assassins, and it just gels and it's funny. And Loki is such a gleeful, magnetic villain that we end up rooting for him in every other appearance he makes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we kind of root for him here too, honestly. Thanks so much for joining me again. I promise the rest of this list isn't just a million Marvel movies. That's pretty much all of them. Good news if you happen to be Martin Scorsese. I love every movie on this list, but the next ones are ranked higher than the ones before. So definitely watch that video when it comes out. Until then, I'm Nick, I still have a degree in film, and I love you all very much.